Hello class. Today I'd like to show you how to work with fractions using the math that I gave you in quiz 1 for your TIG class. Here it goes. I gave you 4 equations or 4 problems, and those are the 4 problems that are shown on the screen in front of you. So I'm going to take each one of these one at a time, and I'm going to draw how to solve it. So this is number 1, okay? This will be number 2. This is the third problem, and this is number 4, the fourth problem. Try that one more time. There you go. Okay, so for number 1, I will change pens. I'll do something a little darker. So here's your first problem. 3/4 plus 1/8 plus 5/8. Okay? And then it wants to know the answer. Sure, you can plug it into a calculator, all that fun stuff, but how do you solve this when you're on a job site, when you're at your workstation, and you don't have your cell phone on you, or you're using an old school calculator, and you have to remember how to do conversions if you plan to use decimals as your solution? Sure, you can go ahead and say 3/4 is 0.75, then your 0.125 is what? 0.125, and then you have your last digit, 5/8, which is 0.625, if you can remember all that, okay? And then you can whip out your basic calculator and solve it. Or you can remember how to do math with fractions and forget about all that. Get to the answer faster. First thing you have to remember with any fractions problem when it comes to addition and subtraction. Listen very carefully. When it comes to addition and subtraction, which are these two, okay? The stuff I'm going to show you has absolutely nothing to do with multiplication or division. Remember that. These two over here are handled differently. Okay, that's the first thing you have to remember. When you work with fractions, if you're dealing with addition and subtraction, you handle it differently than if you're dealing with multiplication and division. Honestly, multiplication and division of fractions is faster. I'll be honest to say that. So I'm going to go through the process for addition and subtraction first, which is going to be this side. Got it? Next. So your first problem is 3/4 plus 1/8 plus 5/8. So the first thing you have to do is find the common, first I got to spell common correctly, common denominator. Now, remember what denominator is. That's the number on the bottom, the down. Think of D for down. Got it? Down. In other words, it's down here. Okay? Denominator. Okay? And up above is what's called a numerator. Those are the fancy words that are used in math land. Get used to it and remember it, okay? Now I am using a digital tablet here to do this, so appreciate the fact that the numbers and wording might not look perfect, as you can see. So you're not going to get beautiful text out of me. Never do. So you need to find the common denominator, okay? So the common denominator between the numbers that we are looking at, which is 4, 8, and 5, the numbers at the bottom. Remember that. So if you have 4, 8, and not 5, I meant, sorry, 5/8, and 8. You see those? Those 3 numbers come from your problem, okay? So what's common with all of these? Well, remember how to do this. You can, of course, break this down, all the way, and I'm too lazy for that. So I don't go that far. if I can see that one is divisible by the other without breaking it further down, I'm a happy camper. So is 8 divisible by 4? Answer is yes, because 4 times 2 equals 8. Okay? Now, in fractions, you're looking for the highest common denominator, not the lowest. Okay? Which means you're looking for the biggest number of all the denominators that are common to every single denominator on there. So in our case, the obvious solution is 8, because 4 times 2 is 8, and of course the answer doesn't change if I look at the other 8. So for 3/4 and 1/8 and 5/8, the common denominator for the purpose of doing this work is 8. All right, so your second step is to plug it in. Okay, so plugging it in, we're going to go 3/4. The way I do it is I think vertically. I can't think horizontally when I do math, so I line everything up down here vertically, and then I put my next set of answers when I plug in the 8 over here, the 8 over here, and the 8 over here. Okay, this number doesn't change, this number doesn't change, because 8 times what equals 8? 1. So what you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator. So 5 times 1 is 5. 8 times 1 is 8, so 1 times 1 is 1. Now things are different. So I'm going to change my color here. So 4 times 2 equals that denominator of 8. What you do to the the denominator, you do to the numerator. So therefore, you have to say 4 times 2 over here. So, I'm sorry, not 4 times 2, 3 times 2. Whatever I did down here, I got to do up here. So what's 3 times 2? 6. That's why the number up here becomes 6. I'm going to try to make that as bold as I can as I'm writing this out. So now, what you're adding is the 6 plus the 1 plus the 5. And that value, 5 plus 1 is 6, 6 plus 6 is 12, and that's why it's 12 over 8. Now, one of the things I've told everybody in class and everything else, when it comes to math, this might be a fine answer for your math teacher, but it is not the fine answer for us in the world of fabrication, because we're not going to look for 12/8 on our ruler. We're not going to count that way. We need to look at what is this on a ruler. Now, I don't have the ability to drop a ruler in here the way I'd like to, so I'm going to have to say, I can't show you how to do this on the ruler, but I can tell you how to do this, whether you have a ruler in your hands or not. Okay, for some reason this line doesn't want to draw itself, so I'm going to ignore that and just make the arrow. Come on, you behave. I love computers. Anyways, right now, the system there we go. Let's try that one more time. There we go. Good job. Okay. Right now, we have 12 divided by 8. 12 over 8 is the same as, listen very carefully, 12 over 8 is the same as saying 12 divided by 8. So now you can approach the solution 2 ways. Of course, like anything else, math has many solutions. So don't think that there's only one way to do something. So I'm going to show you one way, which is 12 divided by 8. And this method, I'll say this is one solution. 1 times 8 is 8. So 12 minus 8 is 4. Okay, so now this translates into, this is a whole value, so that's 1. And this becomes 4, the remainder goes on, becomes a numerator, and 8 stays as the denominator. 1 and 4/8. That's not a good value because that is not simplified. So to simplify it, you realize what? This is that, back to this conversation. Remember that? 4 times 2 is 8. So you actually divide this by 2, divide this by 2, and what you find out is 1 and 4/8 is the same as, I'm going to try to clean this up a little bit before I give you the answer. 1 and 4/8 is the same as what? 1. And what's 4 over 8 the same as? For those of you screaming the answer, thank you. 8 divided by 2 is 4. What's 4 divided by? Or am I taking this too slow? Who wants to say, oh, Ms. Sherris, you're taking this too slow? What do we see? Do I want to divide it by 2 or do I want to divide it by 4? Get it? Because 4 is in both of these. So it's really 1, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So that's why the answer is 1.5. Got it, guys? 1 and 1/2. Okay. Now method 2, for people who want to do the breakdown method. When you look at 12 over 8, what you realize is that it's made up of 8 over 8 plus 4 over 8. Some people operate this way. That's why I'm giving you this approach. 8 plus 4 is the 12. See that? And 8 stays as 8. And that's how it loops back into whatever the answer is up here, which in this case is 12 over 8. Now 8 over 8 is the same as 1. Hence the where you get the whole value of 1. Okay? And then you've got the plus symbol here. 4 over 8 is where you get the half. And then you get to the same result, okay, which is 1 and 1. Whoops. I was hitting my keyboard on that. Sorry, guys. Just delete all these little crazy circles there. Sorry about that. 1 and 1/2 becomes your answer. Same answer, slightly different approach to get to it. Okay, guys? That is number 1. Okay? Now, when we look at the second item, I do have to erase a little bit of this to get to what I want to get to. The cost of marking everything is having to erase everything as you're going along. That's why I'm recording this, so you have that for you, okay? This is how you solve this guy. I'm gonna highlight this. This is how you solve that one, okay? Next, solving the next one. Method to the madness is identical. Always remember that. If it's addition and subtraction, your process is the same. Your process changes when you are doing multiplication and division. That's the first thing you must remember. Is there more than one way to do any of these problems? The answer is yes. I literally just gave you 2 basic ways. You choose to do what you want. So if you're able to answer these problems a different way, accurately, all the time, 100%, I don't care what you use. Got it, guys? Do what makes sense to you. Next one, okay? I'm going to use green just to be clear. I'm doing 5/8 minus 1/4. Okay, that's the one I'm doing next. So 5/8. I'm going to start the way I already told you that I prefer to work vertically. minus a quarter. Same thought process, so same approach. Got it, guys? So same, we're also dealing with 8 and 4. So 8 is going to be the common denominator. 4 times 2 equals 8, so 1 times 2 equals 2. This is 8 times 1 equals 8, so 5 times 1 equals 5. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Oh, is it plus? Did I screw up already? Yeah, good job, guys. You're listening. For those of you that caught it. Minus. Okay, 5 minus 2 is 3. Whoops. Let me try to get my pen to behave. And then the denominator stays the same, 8, of course. So the answer is 3/8, and that's it, because that's the lowest you can go with that value. So, and you put the inch symbol behind it because it's 3/8 of an inch. And that is your addition and subtraction, okay? It doesn't matter what the denominators are. You'll always find it's not always going to be a 4 and an 8. It could be a 1/16 of an inch, whatever it is. So just remember that. Now, the other side, multiplication and division. Okay, now we're handling this side, guys. To handle this side, you have to appreciate the rules for multiplying and dividing. Multiplying is the easiest fraction process you can do. Because when you multiply, make sure I spell it right. Multiply. There you go. So 3/4 times 5/8. You literally just go across and multiply. See that? You just go totally across. So 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 8 is 20. Done. Or are we? See how I paused? I don't know. Are we done? 3 times 5 is a 15, and 4 times 8 is 4 times 8 is 20. Oh, come on, guys. Are you listening? I did it wrong. Got it, guys? Even in my videos, I intentionally show you things wrong because I'm hoping you're going to stop and pay attention. It's 4 times 8. What is 4 times 8? Okay. Now, in my mind of minds, however way you do multiplication, if these numbers bother you, one of the things I try to explain to you, if you can, 3s and 5s, 5s are easy numbers because you think of them as money. Let me just go through the math piece of this. So if I got $5 and I'm going to give you 3 5s, that's 5 times 3. So that's $5 plus $5 plus $5. I bet you $100, no pun intended, that you don't even think about that. You know 3 5s, that equals 15 because you're used to money, or at least I hope you are, or you want it, one or the other. There's your $15. Now, 4s and 8s, they're not as simple to do in your head, so that's why I did that intentionally. I'm like, okay, then now what's this? It's not a factor of 5 at all. 4 and 8s are factors of 2. Okay, so, and we don't do $2 bills anymore. So it's not as straightforward a number to think of. So what I'd like you to think about is either 8s, like 8 plus 8 is 16, okay? And then think about what the adding to that. You can even do 8 plus 8 is 16 again. And how many 8s are up here? How many 8s are up here? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 8s. So 8 times 4 is what? 16 plus 16. So when we think about 16 plus 16, 6 plus 6 is 12. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So the answer is 32. So 8 times 4 is 32. This is how I'm trying to teach you to break down some of the stuff so you have an idea of how to handle math if you have to do it on a piece of paper and you don't remember your times table. Okay, me personally, I never memorized the times table. I know that it was drilled and drilled and drilled in grade school, but nothing really stuck. A few things stuck. Stuff related to money, 100% stuck in my head. But when it comes to stuff like this, where the numbers are not money, like it's not dollar bills, it's not $5 bills, it's not $10 bills, it's not $20 bills, didn't quite stick in my head. So if it didn't stick in your head, probably because there wasn't money involved. Somehow, when there was money involved, it stuck in my head. So for our purposes, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make sure that you've got a thought process in your mind associated with how to deal with numbers. So I'm giving you a sample up here of how to do that. If you don't remember some of them, but you remember your addition and subtraction, this is how you get through it, okay? Because when you take tests, especially with the Union Hall, you're not going to get a ton of time. You might not get a calculator, so you got to learn how to do this, tricks of the trade, so to speak, and get through the work. So that's why it's 15 30 seconds of an inch, by the way, because you're multiplying. 4 times 8 is 32. So remember that. And if you remember your fives, you could also remember that 4 times 5 is 20. And then all you got to remember is, well, that's 5 fours. So I need another, yeah, to me that's too complicated. This method I gave you right here, I think is simpler, okay? Next, division. Okay, that's how I would solve the multiplication problem without taking a calculator out. The goal of division is to multiply. Yeah, did you hear me say that? Yeah, it's true. The goal of division is to multiply. Which means whenever you have a number that is 5/8 and you divide it by another number of 5/16, that's the sample given here. Got it? Those aren't answers, by the way, if some of you are getting confused, those 3s and 4s. I was just numbering them. Okay, let me clear that off a bit. The problem I'm dealing with is right here. For those of you who skip through the video and are like, why do I have numbers in there? That's not what you think it is. So here's 5/8 divided by 5/16. The thing with division is all you really got to remember is turn it into a multiplication problem. The way you do that is, of all things, you flip the second digit. You flip it. That's the word I'm going to use. I think there's a fancy math word which escapes my mind today at this hour. And I think the term is reciprocal. You need the reciprocal of the number, which is the flip of it, if I remember correctly. But I could be wrong, because I'm good at not remembering the words perfectly. That I can tell you. But reciprocal, I think, is the correct word, if I remember correctly. So 5/8, you're welcome to look up the word, and I'm going to write it on the side. I'm going to spell it correctly, don't worry. Reciprocal. Got it? That's the spelling of that word. Reciprocal. Got it? So it's 16/5. Got it? So if you just remember to flip it, you're good, because that's actually what you did. You took the 16, put it on top, you took the 5, put it on the bottom. You literally flipped the position of the two numbers. That's it. Now, as all of you know, I'm a lazy bum, as I jokingly call it. We have the last step. Now, 5/8 times 16/5 is a pretty big number to deal with. But one of the things you can tell is, this is the fun part with multiplication. You see that 5 and 5, see when the 5 is in the numerator spot in one value and 5 is in the denominator spot in the other value, in multiplication land, you can actually say, yeah, these are good. 5 and 5, they cancel each other out, and that's 1 and 1. Get it? Because you can literally rearrange the formula. So when you've watched people maybe do this, and you see them slashing things, that's what they're doing. Here, just like on this side, I'll change the color here. 8 and 16, well, 16 is divisible by 8 to 2, by a factor of 2. Because 8 times, come on, you work for me. Well, for some reason it doesn't want to. Come on, you can do it. That's supposed to be a 2 there. Sorry, guys. My computer doesn't want to behave right now. It keeps wanting to do something else. So let me try this one more time. Yeah, it keeps flipping for some reason to wanting to put text. I don't want to put text. Oh, that's why, because where my mouse is. I don't know. I can't figure it out. It keeps flipping. You see it on the screen. There you go. 2 is the answer. I have to move my mouse far, far away from everything. Okay. And the reason 2 is the answer is because 1 times 2 is 2, and this turned into a 1 over here. So it's really, if you want to break it down, it's technically 2 over 1, which equals 2. And that's why the answer is 2 inches. Now, let me break that down a slightly different way so you could see the longhand version of how that was solved. Okay, 5/8 is here. The flip of 5/16 is 16 over 5. Okay, in multiplication land, you can rearrange this formula. The denominators and the numerators can be moved around. This is the same as saying, and this might be what you've seen in like math class. If my mouse will, again, it wants to put text in when I want it to type. I love it when it does this. Okay. This is the same as saying 5 times 16 divided by 8 times 5. This is what the problem looks like to a math person, which means you can rearrange this thing to 5 over 5 times 16 over 8. Okay, now you quickly see 5 over 5 just becomes 1, because 5 divided by 5 is 1. And now you see the 16 divided by 8. And if we want to take the longhand approach, 16 divided by 8 is 2, because 8 times 2 is 16 with no remainder. So that is why the answer is 2 inches. Okay. I hope this video helps you in understanding the math part of any test, not just the one that we just had, the quiz we had. And let me know. Take care. Bye-bye.